Hey there, I hope you guys are having a great week. This week we're going to talk about attachment levels and severity of emotions and how all that comes into being. And I have a little announcement for folks who might be interested in raising money for your business. Stand by.
Welcome to the Turbocharged Entrepreneur, where we discover the secrets of mastering the mind game of success. Clear your mind's calendar. You're about to be infused with some high-octane wisdom that is going to help you turbocharge your positivity, your creativity, your productivity, and your profitability. Here now is your host, a former executive with the Fortune Global 100, a successful entrepreneur out of Georgia Tech's Advanced Technologies Development Center, an advisor in the Charlotte startup community, an expert in emotions management, Sean Webb.
Hey, welcome to the Turbocharged Entrepreneur. I am your host, Sean Webb. Thank you for spending the time that you are spending with me today. I will make sure that we do not waste even 1 second of it. Forgive the 5 o'clock shadow. I'm actually consciously thinking about growing a beard out. Just thinking about it. I don't know. We'll see. So a little announcement to begin our podcast, and it might be a pre-announcement because things aren't fully set in stone yet, but it looks like I might be able to front as a scout for a brand new investment bank that's going to be a powerhouse in the Southeast region to bring together Southern and West Coast money to entrepreneurs who are not necessarily on the West Coast. And it's always been an issue in places like the Midwest or the Southeast or even parts of the Southwest, if you're not directly in Austin, Texas, to raise capital for your venture. Because a lot of times investors want to be able to walk over and slap the people that they've handed money to. And if you have to get on a plane from San Francisco or Los Angeles and fly all the way over to the East Coast, you're fighting a time change and jet lag and yada, yada, yada. And so those meetings become difficult. But if you have a management team on the East Coast or in the Midwest, then all of a sudden you can reach out through your team and slap someone who you've given money to. And so this new investment bank is potentially going to fill that gap and bring some real money into other portions of the United States where Silicon Valley, you can walk in with a good business plan and a good team and get a decent sized check signed for yourself. In the Southeast or the Midwest or the Southwest and even parts of the Northeast, you can't get that done. Well, hopefully we're going to change that. So I hope that's a good announcement for you. On to today's topic. We're in the middle of discussing how emotions come to be in your mind. And why is that important for an entrepreneur to understand the emotional process within your own mind? Well, it comes down to being able to control your existence, period. Because a lot of the things that happen in our minds happen subconsciously. They happen automatically. They happen without our control. And so maybe someone gives us a critique or says something critical about something that we've done, something that we've said, something that we're connected to, and we sit there and we stew, and we're in a meeting stewing about something that someone said, and we're not being as effective as we could be, or maybe we're spending way too much time responding to some criticism that really has become a thorn in our side for some reason, yada, yada, yada. The process of being able to understand all that stuff and understand how that comes to be in our mind allows us to shut all that stuff off and get on with life and get on with being effective. And so in understanding our emotions, we understand our mind in general, and we take control of our mind because our mind oftentimes is being run by our emotions. And if we understand that whole process, we take control of that process. And the difference between being controlled by that process and controlling that process is huge. And so today, we're going to talk about attachment levels and how attachment levels then influence the level of severity of emotions that we exhibit or that we experience. All right, now we talked about in the last couple of weeks the equation of emotion, expectation and our preference as compared to reality as perceived or our perception, equals an emotional reaction. If these two are equal, if the world is meeting our expectation and our preference, we have a happy emotion. If the world is not meeting our expectation or preference, in whatever situation that is, then we have a negative emotion about whatever. We have an expectation or preference that the dog won't pee on the floor. The dog does pee on the floor. We're disappointed about the dog peeing on the floor, right? And so this can be big stuff, it can be little stuff, it can be projects that we're attached to, it can be our businesses, of course, it can be an expectation about a certain product or deliverable or whatever. If this is balanced, a happy emotion occurs. If it's imbalanced, a negative emotion occurs. And there are specific rules behind which emotion comes into being. This isn't the end all be all, but basically this is how your emotions work. Now, we become attached to things, which then creates half of the equation of emotion, the expectation and a preference. And the things that we're attached to can either be plotted on an attachment map here or represented by this funky little icon here, which is a mind surrounded by chains and a padlock of all the things that we lock into our mind. Now, the attachment to whatever it is, be it a project, be it our business, be it a thing, a way that we want things to go, creates an expectation and a preference regarding that attachment. Well, the other thing that we need to take into consideration is how attached we are to something, because the reality is the closer that we hold something in our minds, the closer that we're attached to something, is directly proportional to how much emotion we are going to feel about that attachment or expectation or preference when the perception, the RP, comes in from the world through our heads. Okay? So let's take a sports team analogy. If we're really attached to the San Diego Padres, for instance, and we're not so attached to the Chicago Cubs, we just kind of like the Chicago Cubs, we're going to be more affected by a loss of the San Diego Padres than we are of the Chicago Cubs, because we're more attached to the Padres. Let's say we've got a closet full of Padres logos and Padres gear, and we know all the team, and we love them all, and when they lose, it crushes us. And then we kind of like Chicago because we lived there for a couple of years or whatever, and we kind of like a couple of players on the team. When they lose, it's still disappointing, but it's disappointing to a lesser degree because we aren't as attached to that team in comparison to the Padres. Well, the same holds true for everything in life. Let's say you have a neighbor's kid who is a nice kid, you like him, whatever, and you see a stranger out in the street slap your neighbor's kid in the face. Well, that's going to create anger in you for a couple of reasons. One, because an outside entity, something not on your attachment map, a stranger, has attacked something on your attachment map, which is your neighbor's kid. And so you're going to have anger from that perspective. And then you also may just have a general attachment to adults shouldn't slap kids in the face. And so that's also going to be on your attachment map. That idea of adults not hitting kids in the face is going to be then attacked by an adult, someone off the attachment map, attacking something on your attachment map, which is the idea that adults should not hit kids in the face. So you're going to have a decent bit of anger, and you might even step outside to say, hey, what the hell's going on? Okay. Now take, for instance, you have your own child, and your own child is out in front of your house, and an adult stranger comes up and slaps your own kid in the face. Okay, now the attachment level is much different. Before, you kind of had an attachment with the neighbor's kid. Now they're attacking something that's very near and dear to your heart. In fact, almost more attached to you than your own body. A lot of parents that I know would put their own life in danger in defense of their own kid. Okay, so now the attachment level that you have, the attachment to your own children, is right there in the center. Now it's like you're being attacked. Now you're grabbing the baseball bat on the way out the door and you're not asking any questions. Okay? And so attachment level is something that is very ingrained in the automated processing of creating our emotions. And the more attached we are to whatever it is, the more vehement the emotional reaction is going to be in our minds. The basic rules of emotion include, let's talk about just three basic emotions. Fear is the mind's question of whether an attachment is about to take a devaluation. Okay, let's say a bear walks out of the woods in front of you. Your body and your life is an attachment of your mind, and the bear represents a threat to self. Okay, and so if there is a threat to self present, fear automatically gets generated in our minds. If you're very attached to your body, very attached to your life, which most of us are, bear walks out of the woods in front of us, fear is going to be generated. Sadness is an actual devaluation of something on the attachment map. Okay, let's say grandma dies, or a big project that we're working on fails. Okay, something that we're attached to has taken a real devaluation. Grandma is gone. The project has failed. Whatever it is, the attachment on your attachment map is now less than it was yesterday, and so sadness is the result. At any point that you have any type of devaluation of anything that you're attached to, sadness is a result. Okay, if your favorite team loses the championship game, well, you still love them, but the team has taken a little bit of a devaluation. They're no longer a potential number one. Now they're a definite number two, and the disappointment sets in. That is a result of the loss. Okay, anger is defined as something off of your attachment map, something foreign to you, attacking something on your attachment map. Let's say you have a favorite sports team and some guy comes across and says, your sports team sucks. Okay, this has caused deaths in soccer matches internationally and cricket matches internationally. In fact, there have been shootings here in the United States at Oakland Stadium, San Francisco and Oakland, mixing it up over there, I think, was the two teams where multiple people were shot because they were wearing the wrong colors to the game. That's basically what's going on here. Something off the attachment map, a person or a result of a game or something that you're not attached to, attacks the valuation of something on your attachment map. These are patterns that hold true across the globe, cross-culturally, cross-gender, cross-age group, cross-income level. These patterns exist in the human mind, and this is how anger, sadness, and fear arise in the human mind in general. And it's customized by what you are attached to. It's why you don't get upset when someone says China sucks, and the person who lives in China does get upset when someone says China sucks, because they are attached to China and you are not so attached to China. Same deal if they say that America sucks. They're not attached to America. They don't give a shit. You're attached to America. You care because your patriotism has now been insulted. Okay, so how do we take that into consideration regarding controlling our emotions and controlling the variables that help control our emotions? All right, well, it's mindfulness that helps us control our emotions and keep a great deal of inner peace in our interactions from an entrepreneurial standpoint. At any point that we can understand that how attached we become to something, how close we're holding it to our chest, when that process creates a greater deal of emotional result, then we can start to understand how to control our emotional reactions, right? Because at the point that we can mindfully care for things and push forward on goals and things like that, but at the same time hold them at arm's length and not put it to our individual sense of self-worth, right? If something that we're attached to fails, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're a failure. That's when we start taking control of our emotions and taking control of our mind's environment, okay? Because at the point that you can consciously hold your attachments at arm's length and say they're not necessarily a definition of myself, they're only the things that I am doing at this point. When things go wrong or things fail or things even go right, you don't get overwhelmed with emotion that takes you off your game, because people have been, of course, taken out of their game by elation. And, we've all seen the videos of teams becoming too attached that they're winning, and then all of a sudden at the last second, the offense on the other side scores the last goal and takes the game in the last split second, right? You need to be able to control your emotions to keep your mind on what's going on, to be able to accomplish your goals through their completion. And that includes controlling your positive emotions and your negative emotions. And so taking today's lesson to the practical application of that, understand that the things that you put onto your attachment map consciously through your business or through your products or through your projects or whatever it is that you're working on, only put these things on temporarily and only put them on loosely. Don't hold them so close to yourself that when things go positive or things go negative, that it destroys you or throws you into a distracted elation of awesomeness that you then forget some of the details, or you don't get all the benefit that you could by not focusing and just what my dad called the Amish effect. You put up half the barn and then you spend the rest of the day just admiring half the barn that you built. No offense to my Amish folks, because I came from that area of the country and I love that apple butter. And so this gives you a good idea of how the basic functions of your emotional influence system works in your mind, the things that come together to create the different emotional reactions and the severity of the emotional reaction. And then next week we'll talk about the individual emotions, or one of the individual emotions, so that you can focus in on how you get angry, how you get sad, how you get fearful, how you get worrisome, how you get regretful about things. And so you can sweep your mind of those cobwebs, because understanding that process allows you not to be affected by that process as much as you would if you weren't controlling it. Hope things are well for you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.